Hello and welcome to Mad Hatter Magnet Fishing and Mudlarking, and today we've got a Short Walks with Shay and Callum episode for you, and we are going to be touring Nothe Fort, which you can see right there.
The first question you might have is why that was built. It's enormous and it's built of a huge amount of stone and earth, and it wasn't built in isolation. It was built as part of many other defences to Portland Harbour. I think there's about 4. There's one at the Verne. Can't really see Portland right now because it's shrouded in mist as it usually is, but it's that sort of lump in the distance. There's the Breakwater Fort, which is, as its name suggests, on the breakwater, on the entrance to Portland Harbour. But this was the main defensive fort, which could cover the approaches to Weymouth and Portland harbours, and it was built in 1860, or they started building it in 1860, as a response to increased tensions with the French.
It took 12 years to build the Nothe Fort. It was built overlooking the harbour, as you can see behind us here. The first part of the construction was actually construction of a sea wall due to issues with sloping parts of the coast. However, they were unable to complete this at the time, and the construction was handed over to the 26th Company of the Royal Engineers. There we go, Nothe Fort.
As soon as you enter the fort, you enter a semicircle courtyard which doubles up as a parade ground. It's now very well maintained and looks as it would in the 19th century.
Here we have a fine example of the World War II kitchen that would have been here during the times whilst it was used to house certain individuals. You can see some of the period decorations they have in there currently. The fireplace to keep themselves warm, what they would have had for food and such. Certain items of which I mudlark for today. You'll see in some of my other videos. And now we enter the Victorian gun deck display. So you can see here the old fire burners, the stove, where they'd have played cards, checkers, all the rest of it. And where they've actually eaten a little bit as well, near the kitchen. There's an old iron there, I found a few of those, magnet fishing. You've got the enamel plates. And there is bed setups. Now obviously they weren't actually that short, these are just half size, so you can get an idea for what it would have been like. Doesn't look particularly comfortable, does it really, when you look at it? It doesn't look like somewhere I particularly want to be sleeping.
So all the cannons which were installed at Nothe Fort were muzzle-loaded, spiral-cut cannons. So they would spin the shell as it left the barrel, which gave them extra range and extra accuracy. What is levy? Define reveille. I'm glad you had to pronounce that, not me.
By the 1890s, the country had seen many technological advances, and 7 of the cannons were ready to be replaced. In their place were put 12.5-inch, 38-ton cannons.
Due to the pace of technological progress, after the fort was opened in 1872, it wasn't very long before they had to replace the guns. They replaced the RML guns with some naval guns, breech-loaded naval guns. I think only 18 years later, in the early 1890s.
the new guns were able to launch projectiles over 3.5 miles. Now as we come up here, we come towards the caponnière. The word caponnière originates from the French meaning chicken coop. Now as you can see, it's rather closed in, but this has been done on purpose to protect the troops that will be behind, firing through these slits to defend the fort. Well, you can see over the top, and you can see what they would have been firing at. So that's where we are, just there. So using this signal projector, they would have created Morse code. There's an alphabet here for you, and that's how they would have been able to speak to each other across long distances, or speak to incoming ships to check if they were friendly or not. The first soldiers to be stationed at Nothe Fort were the No. 2 Battery Royal Artillery, and they were specially trained in handling large cannons. See here a model representation of the actual construction of Nothe Fort, where they'd have brought what I assume to be Portland stone over from the island of Portland, hoisted it up, and using wooden struts they would have been able to make and build the outer walls, and then in turn the inner walls as well, creating the very famous semicircle shape of Nothe Fort. Here we're within the observation post, where you'd have been able to stand, aim at the boats coming in across. As you can see, you get a good view of all of them as they come across the waterline. It's the signal office, where they would have sent out different signals using lamps and Morse code. During the 1900s, the fort's layout was slightly revamped. This included adding some hoist lifts, which were used to bring munitions and shells from the lower magazine up to the gun deck. The 6-inch guns on the ramparts were decommissioned in 1956. The 3 7-inch anti-aircraft guns were then installed during World War II. By 1938, the Dorset Royal Artillery Regiment were stationed at Nothe Fort. In September 1939, Nothe Fort had its first anti-aircraft gun installed, the Vickers pom-pom gun, installed in the northwest corner of the ramparts. Also, where the current car park is, there would have been a battery of 4 other guns which were also anti-aircraft. July of 1940, the first and also the last shot was fired by the cannons.
Once World War II had ended, there were a few ideas about how to repurpose the fort. There was the idea to install radar to help the accuracy of the guns. It continued to be a coastal defence fort until 1956, when it was closed and declared obsolete.
Here you can see an example of the stores that they had, where they would have come and spent their money on luxuries. See if we can spot a few. You've got some sweets, meats that they'd have had, different teas, OXO. Is there any products there that you used to have still look the same, or any products you recognise that you have now that look different? Let me know. It was a tad misty earlier, so now there's a bit better weather. We thought we'd show you. There, out on the end, is the breakwater fort. You can see. Unfortunately, there's no public access, so that's about as close as I'm going to be able to get for you guys with that one. And then up there, on the top of Portland, you can just about see the Verne with the entranceway there. And here, we're on Portland, and this is the Verne that we were showing you, that you could see across 1881 it was built.
Crows in the tree as well. See that over there? Or jackal.
Now we come towards the nuclear bunker, which takes us down these stairs. So we're going to go down, have a little look, have a little explore, see what we find. Here we come to the nuclear bunker. That would have been one of your sirens, which would have given you warning of an incoming nuclear attack. Very, very loud items. Very loud items. You can see the control panels here. You can see the way that it was set out in this diorama. Living quarters, eating quarters, working quarters. And there's someone suited and booted, ready for a nuclear attack. The magazines are protected by 6-metre thick walls. Ooh! We're in the magazine. Oh no, this is a room for me.
How many of these things you pulled out of it?
I know, yeah. Ceremonial Japanese dirk, naval dirk from World War II. Following on from those swords, up here we have a musket flint shot from 1797. As you can see there, it's British made India patterned smoothbore musket, would shoot up to 200 yards. This one was bought from the East India Company on the outbreak of the war with France in 1793 and issued in 1797. Known as Brown Bess to the British Army. Underneath it here we have a short Enfield, a rifle that I've always wanted to find. It's one of my dream rifles, percussion rifle musket, 1858 with a range of 400 yards. This one is unfortunately in poor condition after having been salvaged from the sea, and this was issued to rifle regiments and sergeants of line regiments only. Over here we come to close combat weapons. You've got here a trench knife with the knuckle dusters and the knife blade on there. Extremely brutal, extremely nasty weapon. Can do some serious damage with that. You've also got the kukuri from the Gurkhas. Amazing people, they deserve a lot of respect. They've done a lot for us and fought alongside us. You've got the miniature ones here. I'm not sure if they go by the same name. They're probably a slightly different name. Look at the detailing on that blade there. Again, more kukuris from the Gurkhas here. We come down to some grenades. We've got here, this one's a rifle grenade, all the way down and along there, that one goes. So these rifle grenades were fired from Lee Enfield rifles and declared obsolete on the 23rd of January 1919. You've got your pineapple grenades, I believe they call those. You've got your Mills grenade. I've pulled one of those up. I've pulled a couple of those up myself. Mills grenades. British those were, high explosive grenade. Over here we've got police and other British clubs and weapons. You've got your fighting knife, a US fighting knife, and you've also got some British commando knives here used during World War II around 1942. Now we're going to be taking you into the infamous Nothe Fort ghost passageways. Look how scared Callum is. I'm not going to lie, as soon as we've got into this bit it smells different. What have we got here? Here you can see one of the ammunition hoists. I'll be talking about that a little bit later with Callum actually. They did make them electric in the end, but they used to be done by hand. Into the dark. Whoa, that got dark. What the hell was that? Was that you? Callum's trying to scat me out. Of course, I couldn't help but leave without going to the concessionary stand, or the gift shop as some of you may call it, and I ended up grabbing myself some strawberry and raspberry cream white chocolate, because that looks rather tasty, and a few of these strawberry bonbons for the grand total of £6.25. I'm afraid me and Callum completely forgot to film an outro together, so it's just me this time. So I will thank you all for joining me and Callum in today's adventure, and we'll be sure to catch you on the next one.